Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Wednesday, August 27th. We go from Fed woes to hope in big tech. Yesterday, markets ticked up slightly after a down start to the week. The Dow added 135 points or 0.3%. The S&P 500 advanced 26 points or 0.41%. The Nasdaq gained 94 points or 0.44%. Now let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yes. Good morning, Emily. Yeah, I'm watching the S&Ps. We're in the green, up 0.13% right now. So, that's over 1/10 of 1%. I mean, we're flat, like up, 0.05 almost all morning long. But now, as more activity starts to happen in the market, you're seeing the S&Ps move a little higher, and that they're really looking for these tech earnings to be a big catalyst in the markets, and that's really what's going on. You had a lot of good earnings come out. You got a lot of anticipated earnings, so the earnings is really the focus today. Yesterday we were focused on, President Trump's intended removal of Fed Governor Cook. I mean, listen. This remains a hot issue for the media because it's a good story that they can milk for a long time. But the markets, they're focused on earnings. Another big item that hit the tape, those new tariffs on India, they went into effect today. This is increasing the duties on many of these Indian imports by additional 25%. That brings the tariffs up to 50%. I mean, these tariffs are a direct retaliation for India's continued purchase of discounted Russian oil. Now, in India, they're buying this oil and they're reselling it because they're getting it so cheap. But the U.S. is really cracking down on that. What else? Cracker Barrel, CRBL. I mean, this is interesting. The stock's up 4.51%. Why? Because the company is reverting back to its old logo. You think logos don't matter? This is going to be a textbook case because, they didn't judge the market well on this change of the logo. I mean, it's not the logo. It's just that, people didn't want that type of change because your Cracker Barrel is nostalgic. And when you start changing with nostalgic, that became an issue and it got a lot of negative publicity. But, reverting back, right move, Cracker Barrel trading higher by 4.5% this morning. What else have I seen? Hey, I've seen strong gains in Box, MDB, NCHO, OKTA, and PVH after their earnings releases last night. After the bell today, you got NVIDIA, you got CrowdStrike, you got Snowflake, you got V Systems, what else? NTAP, LG, they're all reporting after the bell. And tomorrow morning, you got DG, DKS, Burlington, Dollar General, Dick's Sporting Goods, Burlington Stores, Hormel, Best Buy, and Ollie's Bargain Basement. They're all scheduled reports. So it's a big time for tech this afternoon and retailers tomorrow morning. We're turning our attention over to Europe right now, and Europe is a mixed bag. Listen, what can I say? The DAX is down about 0.2%. There's some weakness in financials. London, the FTSE's flat. It's down, 0.04%. But utility stocks are trading a little higher, and the earnings announcements have mostly been positive. So, we got to keep an eye on that. The CAC, on the other hand, in Paris, that's actually higher by 0.47%. I mean, despite these ongoing political tensions, the index is showing, some optimism, as we see luxury stocks outperforming this morning. So that's positive in France. Turning our attention over to Asia last night, the Nikkei gained 125 points. That's 0.3%. You saw gains in pharma and utility stocks. Hong Kong dropped 1.27%. Sentiment was negative. Market's cautious on Chinese equities valuations right now. The Shanghai market fell 1.76%, and that was done in heavy volume, which is not good. Weakness was seen in property stocks, rare earth stocks. Industrial profits fell year over year in July. That's not positive. But yeah, we're really looking at the elevated valuations in China right now, and I'm not surprised to see some money flowing out. Because it has seen a nice run over the last month. And then we're turning our attention over oil and taking a look at oil this morning. And you know what? Oil has turned. It has actually turned higher. It was lower this morning. Right now I'm seeing WTI at $63.48 a barrel. I mean, it was trading, 62.99, and now it's 63.48. Brent's trading 67.43 a barrel. That's up 0.3%. The key in the markets is for the oil markets is the situation with India on oil and the stockpiles report. Now, the API report came in last night, and it showed a draw of 0.974 million barrels. Now, that decline was smaller than the forecasted 1.7 million barrels. So we'll see. And then you get the EIA, which is the official data. That's coming out 1 hour after the market opens today. And the expectations are actually for a build. So we got to be careful on that. A build will send prices lower. But that's what I have for you in terms of morning market update report, Emily.
Well, of all the things you mentioned, you did point to earnings action as a market driver. We are waiting those NVIDIA earnings after the bell today. That's sort of the big headline, but you gave us a list, a bunch of other stocks that have released that are moving higher. One happens to be your pick of the day from yesterday. So let's dive into the details there. Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings action?
Well, I mean, yeah, we had a lot of good earnings that came out. We got to start off with PVH, Paul Victor Henry. I mean, they beat by 52 cents, and they did it on higher revenue. You look at that stock this morning. I mean, it's trading higher by 6.38%. It was a nice report, and the guidance wasn't bad either. And then you got Kohl's ticker KSS. This is a story because yesterday the stock was getting slammed. It was getting slammed because they came out and they said, "Hey, we're going to slow pay our vendors." Come on, man, that's a negative. It's a negative for the stock. But you look at the stock today, and it's rallying hard. KSS is up 22% this morning. I mean, they beat by 26 cents. They did it on slightly lower revenue, but they raised guidance. So, that was all positive. That was all good to see. There was nothing really to say other than it was a good report. And then you look at it, box ticker BOX. I mean, listen, they reported a nice beat on earnings. They beat by 2 cents, and they did it on higher revenue. You look at Box, it's up 7.61% this morning. So, yeah, we had a lot of good earnings last night. But after the bell tonight, this is a big one. We got a number. The big one is NVIDIA, NVDA. EPS is $1. Expect to move 7.5%. Got to be cautious here because you got that Chinese situation. It's priced really for perfection. Any little negativity in that report could cause the stock to slide. It's a hard one to play because of the Chinese situation. And, the market wants it to be perfect. I don't think it's going to be perfect, but we'll have to, they'll beat on earnings. They'll be able to give decent guidance. But that Chinese situation is a negative, and I foresee that being a problem after earnings are released for NVIDIA after the bell today. Then you got CrowdStrike, CRWD. I mean, their EPS is 83 cents, and the expected move is 7.50%. You get Snowflake, SNOW. Their EPS is 26 cents, and the expected move is 12.50% when they release after the bell. So a lot of good stuff coming out today, Emily.
So it's going to be important to watch those reports as they come out. You're using your NewsWare to do that, catching all those tech reports and also being able to sift through transcriptions of the earnings calls. As you mentioned, it's not just the earnings and the guidance, but diving into the details to catch any sort of commentary that may be market moving. I'll also make a note here, Box up about 7% this morning. That was your pick of the day yesterday. By the end of the show, we will do a full recap on that. So stick with us through the end. Now on to economic events. Obviously, the Fed has been in focus. We have at least one economic report today that you previewed in the opening. So let's dive in. But what is going on in terms of economic events?
Yeah, you have the EIA oil stockpiles report, coming out this morning. I mean, forecasts are pointing to an increase of about 1.8 million barrels compared to a smaller build of 0.397 in the previous week. So, that's would be negative for oil prices. And then at 12, we're going to hear from Richmond Fed Bank President Thomas Barkin. But really, the key economic story right now going on is, the Fed's independence, because Trump's looking to remove Lisa Cook. Lisa Cook is, likely to, take legal action. Trump's actions are regarded as a significant threat to the Fed's independence. That's true. He's apparently has the ability to stack the Fed with low rate guys, low rate economists, which, that's only going to, if you have rising inflation and you're cutting interest rates, all you're going to do is you're going to increase the log bond. And that's really going to, kill the housing market. So, the idea here is probably not well thought out. It's probably not well thought out. And there's you saw yesterday from the cabinet meeting, no one's going to really say what they think. They were all hired with the idea of going to say that, thank President Trump for his leadership. They all sang the same tune in unison. That lack of diversion is cautionary for me. But I do think that this legal battle that he's going to have with Lisa Cook, he's likely going to lose. It'll probably go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has already, signaled that they're skeptical about, the president's authority to remove Fed members, and they because of their structure. I mean, they report to Congress, but they don't. But a president can't remove a Fed governor except for cause. And right now, she hasn't been found guilty of anything. It was just an accusation from a loyalist member of the Trump team. So you can't fire her for that, and that's really, and historically, when with the government's political interference in monetary policy, it leads to economic instability and higher inflation. So we got to, it's the big story that the media is focused on. Markets really are focused on earnings today, so let's keep on that story. But that's what I have for you in terms of an economic report, Emily.
Certainly something still to be keeping track of, but as you mentioned, markets are sort of shifting their focus from that Fed drama to the tech earnings coming out, which you've already listed for us. But along with that, you're also keeping track of other types of news, data, and information, the stories behind the stocks that can be market moving. Things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You're looking at your stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see possibly moving the markets today?
I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 21 higher. I got 9 lower. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. I'm seeing weakness in Amazon, Google, Meta, and Netflix, which is, the only ones that are higher are Tesla and Apple. So they, little concerning on the S&Ps being able to open up higher this morning because the FANG stocks are so heavily weighted in the S&P. Now, let's talk Apple for a second. Apple announced that it's going to be hosting its event on September 9th. This is when they're going to release a new iPhone. This is when they're going to, be releasing new products. Stock typically runs into this announcement, sells off afterwards. We got to keep that in mind. It's one of those sell the news events. Amazon, ticker AMZN, trading a little lower. It's flat to lower this morning. They're looking to deploy their Kupler satellite service in Vietnam. Okay. Netflix down a little bit, about 0.2%. They announced media rights partnership with the World Baseball Classic in Japan. That's kind of positive. Let's talk Dow Jones 30 stocks, and let's talk Disney, ticker DIS. David India Sam, stocks trading higher this morning. Disney suing Dish Network for breach of contract over short-term bundling deals. Okay, Dish Network owns Sling. Sling is offering these 1 day, 1 week, 10-day, bundling deals with Disney content. And Disney's like, no, you don't have the right to do that. So that's going to be a pending issue. Apple, ticker AAPL, they're expected to announce that Apple iPhone 17 and other new devices at the September 9th event. Boeing, ticker BA. A couple things here. Cathay Pacific buys 14 Boeing 777-9 aircrafts, secure an option for additional 7 jets. Remember they have they have those talks going on with their defense unit workers that are on strike. They're holding off talks. They're stopping the talks until after Labor Day. But you look at shares of Boeing, they're trading a little higher. And Salesforce.com is really running this morning. It's up 0.5%. But they're saying the idea or any notion of software sales being dead is wrong. Wouldn't be surprised if we see bigger gains in Salesforce.com, ticker CRM today. What in terms of merger news? Listen, we got to talk about Canadian Goose, ticker GOOS. Fact of the matter is that they are looking to go private. The Canada Goose is the largest shareholder, accepts a bid for his stake. So GOOS, keep an eye on it. Let's talk guidance news. PVH Corp. Remember they own Tommy Hilfiger and other brands. Listen, they backed their full year 2025 guidance of $10.75 to $11. The street estimate was $10.84. It's really positive. Nobody thought they were going to be that good. This is a good guidance. In Kohl's, ticker KSS, they raised their full year 2025 adjusted EPS view. I mean, the street estimate is 63 cents. Earlier they said 10 cents to 60 cents. Now they came out and they raised it to 50 cents to 80 cents, which is a real boom for KSS. That's why you're seeing Kohl's run this morning. KSS is showing some strong gains this morning. Just got to be happy with that. I mean, it's up 21.55%. Wow. And Catalyst calls, we got to talk about IBKR, Interactive Brokers. They're being added to the S&P 500 tomorrow. And that's, then you have all these earnings coming out, after the bell. NVIDIA, V Systems, and others are all coming out. And those are the ones you really want to be paying attention to. But that's what I have for you about news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what do you have for us today?
Going with VEEV Systems, ticker VEEV, Victor, Edward, Victor. Listen, earnings are out after the bell. EPS is $1.90. Expected move is 9.86%. $1.90, I think, is it's good. They should be able to beat that. They had a great report last quarter. I mean, I believe they came in at $1.97 last quarter. Remember, the CEO said, in his statement, he was thanking the employees of Viva's team for their outstanding work to their customers, and that's the sort of thing I like to see in a report where the CEO's giving a shout out to the workers, and that typically indicates that there's some positive momentum going on in the stock. But listen, earnings are out after the bell. The expected move is 9.86%. Yesterday, the call volume 1,866 calls versus 787 puts. I mean, that's more than 2 to 1. Then you look at the open interest, 20,291 versus 10,156. That's very close to 2 to 1. Major brokers, guess what? They're raising price targets. I'm not talking about the second tier brokers or the international. I'm talking about the big five here in the U.S. These guys like the stock. They're raising price targets. So yeah, I like VEEV. Viva Systems, but I got to get in at the right price. Now listen, SPOOs are up. They're trading higher this morning, but I still think we're going to have a little. I still think we're going to see a little weakness at the opening, and my indications is because I'm seeing weakness in these 5-6 FANG stocks this morning. So if we open lower, I think ticker VEV could pull back to the 287 range. I want to get in under 288, so I'm saying 287 to 288. Let's call it 287.50. But if I get in there, I think that's a good target price to kind of shoot for, and that's my pick of the day. Viva Systems, ticker VEEV, Emily.
Another earnings plate is today, and coming up, we will do that recap on yesterday's pick of the day, which we pointed out was also an earnings play, so stick with us through that. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, sending it back to you.
Canadian Goose stock soars after reports of takeover bids. SLDE, Slide Insurance, announced a $75 million stock repurchasing program. Amazon's expected to offer jobs to Whole Foods corporate employees likely in December. SJ Smuckers, SJM, stocks getting hit, after the 2026 guidance data. What can I say about Eli Lilly? These guys have that obesity pill. They got the shot too, but they got that pill that they, got, all the trials went very well. They met all the data endpoints on, primary and secondary endpoints. I mean, they're looking to initiate a global regulatory review this year. LLY, got to keep an eye on that. The pills are going to be hot. Nobody will like shots. Shots will be stopped, but pills are easy. CRM, Salesforce death by AI has been greatly exaggerated. Watch for additional gains in Salesforce.com today. CRM, Charlie, Richard, Mary. SRPT, Sam, Richard, Paul, Tom. They're going to replacing Brookline Bancorp in the S&P 600 on September 2nd. ELAN, Elvis, Larry, Apple, Nancy, Elanco. They're going to be replacing Serpina in the S&P 400 on 9/2. Trump is said to be weighing quickly announcing nominees to replace Lisa Cook on the Fed board. Remember, he's already, got one guy that he's that's scheduled to be replacing Adriana Kugler, who resigned on August 8th. Now, the key here is this guy's going to get the nomination process. Looks like it's going to happen in the first week of September, as soon as the Senate gets back from their summer vacation. So this guy could be, a rubber stamped for a Fed vote at the upcoming Fed meeting next month. And who knows? Maybe who knows what's going to happen with Lisa Cook? But it's not a big issue just yet. Department of Justice expanding probe into United Healthcare's prescription management services. Not good. United Healthcare. I mean, they're trading a little lower this morning. It's at a nice valuation. I'm watching this one closely. ExxonMobil held secret talks about going back into Russia with the Russian oil firm. That could be big. That could be something. We got to keep an eye on that. That's all I'm seeing this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we get to trading on this Wednesday, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day. We pointed out earlier in the show was Box. Now, they did report earnings after the bell yesterday. They reported Q2 EPS of 33 cents. As you told us, that did beat analyst estimates. Revenue for the quarter came in at $294 million, and that was versus the consensus of $290.78 million. In terms of Q3 2020 EPS, the company sees 31 cents to 32 cents. The consensus there had been in line with those estimates at 32 cents. You did tell us that the stock is up more than 7% at this point this morning. So, Bill, how did your call work out?
Yeah, it worked out great. I mean, listen, the stock opened up at $31.25. And that was my entry point. I was saying 31.25, and that's where it actually opened, because it was trading a little higher in there. And I said, wait. And it did hit 31.65 during the trading day. So the 1% was there during the trading day. And the stock did close at 31.16 because it pulled off that high. And then the earnings came out, and it delivered a strong beat. And after the earnings, it actually did hit a high at 34.35. You look at Box this morning; it's trading $33. I mean, it was a great win. That's all I can say. It was a winner. I mean, Box, BOX, Boy Oscar X-ray, really, is benefiting from, a positive earnings momentum that occurred last night. So Box was a winner. Ticker BOX. Very happy, Emily.
A strong win there, Bill, and we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Viva Systems pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk, when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.